Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined, as I will be every Thursday morning in season, by Pat Fitmaurice and by Jake Ciely from The Athletic. Guys, we have made it. It is the morning of the opener. We get real, actual fantasy points in our matchups tonight, courtesy of the Eagles and Cowboys. And we're all pretty darn excited about it, Fitz.
Yeah, we are. We were just talking about this. I will be watching the opener at a bar, and it might be one of the last games. Well, it probably will be the last game I watch at a bar all season. It just doesn't work out with the content schedule the rest of the way. But really excited about it. Really excited for football Twitter, especially during standalone games. It's always a little wild on Twitter. That's fun to follow. Yeah, so it's been a long off season.
Make sure everybody's following us at Fantasy Pros on Twitter /X and also on Instagram and TikTok and everywhere else. We are available on social. Jake, what are your kind of just feelings here at the end of the offseason, at the end of draft season, and now kind of shifting our focus into in-season coverage?
The feelings are, I can't believe it's already here. I actually said that to Nicole last night. I was like, this doesn't feel like week one for some reason. I don't know, with the strange preseason, whatever it might have been, but excited for it to happen. Excited for all the overreactions. It's week one. Crazy things are going to happen. Guys are going to come up doo-doo, and guys are going to go off on your bench or even on waivers, and it's week one. Let's just have the fun, the fact that football's back, right?
Embrace the fact that we don't know anything. You don't know anything. We're just here to have fun, watch some football, make the best guesses we can, and try to win some fantasy matchups. Quick reminder for everybody that all of our 2025 in-season consensus rankings and tiers can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings each and every week of the season. All the different scoring formats that you could need on there. So the way the show's going to work is Jake is new to the show from last year. Fitz, you and I did it together last year. There's going to be a couple different segments on our Thursday show every single week. We are normally going to have sort of a waiver ads segment, basically asking the question, the most popular waiver wires of the week, are we actually starting them right away, or are these long-term pickups? We're obviously not going to have that this week because there have been no games to have waiver ads coming off of quite yet, so that'll be starting next week. The sections we are going to have today, and we'll have every week, are sort of a plant your flag opportunity where we're going to say, like, this is really like our guy of the week. It doesn't matter what position he is. We really believe that this guy is like the start that you want to be making of the week, the guy that we are really convicted in, I should say. And then we're going to do some player debates. We're going to get some guys that you guys have some natural disagreement on. You might find them to be close, but some guys that hopefully you are, kind of organically feeling on opposite sides about, guys who are close to each other in the expert consensus rankings. We're going to have some running backs and receivers, also some flex kind of head-to-head start-sit decisions there. And then we'll wrap up with our touchdown calls contest, which you can participate in on Discord. Anybody listening throughout the season win some cool prizes. Mike Mayer and Kelly Kirby do a great job of running that over on the Fantasy Pros Discord. So we're going to kind of alternate what position we're taking, but we're going to give you our touchdown calls of the week. For example, this week it'll be Jake at running back, Fitz at wide receiver, myself at tight end. Next week we'll rotate through, give you 3 names each and every week. That is what the show is going to look like this year, and I am super excited for it. I'm super excited to start off with the Plant Your Flag segment, especially because you guys picked 2 players from probably the most shocking team you could possibly have picked if anybody was paying attention to draft rankings. It's either them or another team I think would have been the most surprising. You did go with one of them. Fitz, we'll start with you. Who's your Plant Your Flag player this week?
It is David Njoku. And Njoku is part of that big tight end blob below the big 3 of Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, and George Kittle. But Njoku rises to the top of the blob this week. It's such a good setup for him. When Joe Flacco started 5 games for the Browns late in the 2023 season, Njoku had 30 receptions for 390 yards and 4 touchdowns in those 5 games and was the tight end 1 in half-point PPR over that stretch. So Njoku and Flacco have already cooked together, and Njoku opens with a terrific matchup against the Bengals. Cincinnati allowed 111 catches, 1,114 yards, and 10 touchdowns to tight ends in 2024. Basically, tight ends against the Bengals last year were like peak Rob Gronkowski. So it's a great setup for Njoku this week.
Jake, you are, as I alluded to, also picking a Cleveland Brown for this.
Yeah, and if David Njoku is going to have a good week, well, his quarterback's going to have a good week. I am way above consensus on Joe Flacco. I have him one spot behind Jared Goff, which is because they both have to do it with their arms. And honestly, if we're looking at these two games, we could assume both will be shootouts, but the better defenses are in the Lions and Packers matchup. The opportunity here going against the Bengals. Look, Joe Flacco, I've mentioned it, I think, on this show, or it was with somebody on one of the recent shows. Over his last 17 starts, over 4,400 yards. Joe Flacco is going to throw. The Cleveland Browns are going to throw. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to force the Cleveland Browns to throw. So if somebody's going out there and throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, even with potential interceptions in week 1, and it's add this range of Dak Prescott, who has to do it with his arm tonight against the Eagles. I'm scared of their secondary. Jared Goff has some concerns going against the Packers. I think Joe Flacco deserves to be in that conversation with them. So if you're looking for that, hey, I drafted Caleb Williams and I really don't want to start him in week 1, let's go Joe Flacco.
Do you guys have any interest in the running game for the Browns as well? Is this like because you guys are obviously focusing in on the passing game here, but like Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford, like are we thinking this is just going to be like a start all your Browns opportunity?
No. So yes, Dylan Sampson, no Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford feels like the safe play, and maybe if we're talking 6 teams on a bye, I'm just going to chase the upside of Sampson, similar to the Commanders' backfield. I'm going to chase Austin Eckler. I'm going to chase the Austin Eckler for the Browns in a game. I'm going back to, again, I expect the Browns to have to pass and try to play keep up. I'm going to go with the more explosive option. It could be Jerome Ford that outscores him. I'm just going to chase the upside in that backfield.
Fitz, what do you think about the running game? And like, is there a chance the Browns win this game, just given not only the Bengals defense, but the way they have started their past, few seasons?
Oh, yeah. After watching the Bengals lay an egg against the Patriots in week 1 last year, you could totally see them losing in Cleveland and having to, deal with the dog pound. So I could totally see that, especially if it's windy. You get that wind tunnel effect in Cleveland sometimes. And, if that throws off the Cincinnati passing game. As for the Browns running game, I mean, if you are a Ford or a Sampson stakeholder, I think you wish you were getting this matchup like in a week with a lot of buys and later in the season when there were buys and injuries, because like Ford and Sampson would be startable in like week 7 in this matchup. But this week when everyone's pretty healthy going into the season and, you've got all your studs ready to roll, I don't think you're starting those guys, even in a pretty good looking matchup against the Bengals. And by the way, I think the fact that, I'm taking David Njoku and Jake is taking Joe Flacco, I think what Jake and I are trying to say is that, we think the Browns are going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
100%. Well, to be clear, real quickly, I actually have Austin Eckler and Sampson back-to-back at 32 and 33. So I'm with him that even if I have Sampson higher, it's not like you have to start him. There's not a lot of teams that dig that far already.
Yeah, I'm pulling up here what the odds are for the Browns to win the AFC this year. Let's see. Just to represent
80 to
AFC 1 in the Super Bowl. It's 150 to 1. So
I was being generous. Wow.
That's a line you can find over at Hard Rock Bet. Speaking of, we are extremely excited to announce our new presenting sponsor, which is Hard Rock Bet. Everybody knows and loves the Hard Rock hotels and casinos, and now you can use the top-rated Hard Rock Bet sportsbook to place your bets all NFL season and beyond. Hard Rock Bet is the only legal sportsbook in the state of Florida and is also available in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado, with more states launching all the time. You can also play on Hard Rock Bet's online casino if you are in New Jersey. From here on out, you'll start to see us use Hard Rock Bet lines when we're talking about the games. For example, the Bengals are laying 5 points in this one if you do want to go with that early season upset for the Browns +5. So as we gear up for the NFL season, sign up for Hard Rock Bet, make a $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Head over to Hard Rock Bet, sign up, and make your first deposit today. All right, guys, let's get into our start-sit player debates. We're going to have a couple of running backs, a couple of receivers that we can maybe dive a little bit deeper on. Then we'll have room to go through a little quicker, a larger chunk of sort of flex options, hit on a quarterback and tight end or two, and see what we think. So we'll start off with the running backs, and I want to start off with a veteran coming off of injury versus a rookie. It's Isiah Pacheco versus TreVeyon Henderson, 2 players that I really liked targeting in drafts this year at their respective costs. But if you had a couple running backs that you drafted higher, you might need to be picking between only one of them for your flex spot maybe, or for that RB2 spot, depending on your roster build. So Jake, I'll start with you. Who are you starting this week between Pacheco and Henderson?
It's super close, but I'm going with Pacheco. I love Henderson, as anybody knows. I thought that Henderson was worth going into the fourth round, maybe even late third in the pre-drafts for the season. But really what it comes down to is still questions about the Patriots offense, still questions of like, do we expect Henderson to get mid-teen touches? Like I do, but would it be a shock if they come out and still use Stevenson and still use Antonio Gibson, go full-blown committee and bring them along slowly, whatever it might be. I go back to, and I've referenced it on my pod, I've referenced it on other pods, continue to give you credit, Pat, every single time. I say, Pat Fitmaurice said this 2 months ago, if Pacheco never played last season, would we be ranking him higher? Legitimate question. So much so that we not only had that question, but you guys saw it. We got to see a little bit of Pacheco in the preseason, and similar to Deebo Samuel, he looked like he had his burst back. And if Pacheco has his burst back, I know he's not going to get used a lot in the passing game, but somebody has the touchdown equity that I can count on that, hey, they're going to use him at the goal line. I don't have to worry about the Patriots playing Patriots games with Mike Vrabel and Josh Daniels at the goal line. So that's where I go with it. It's only 4 spots apart, but I would go with Pacheco over Henderson in week 1.
But before I toss to Fitz, is it close enough, Jake, that if we were we're going to largely look at this through the prism of a half PPR setting.
Yeah.
If it was full PPR, would you switch it to Henderson?
It would probably be back-to-back. It would close the gap that much.
Okay. Fitz, what do you think between these two, again, from the half PPR perspective?
I also have it close. I have Henderson ranked a little higher, RB20 versus RB23 for Pacheco. And, hopefully Pacheco is back to what he was. I agree with Jake. He looked really good in the preseason and obviously wasn't 100% late last year when he came back from that broken leg after only, 10 or 11 weeks. But is Pacheco going to be a true lead back, or does Kareem Hunt still get meaningful playing time? Does rookie Brashard Smith play on passing downs for the Chiefs? And then Pacheco also gets a matchup against a Chargers defense that allowed the 6th fewest fantasy points to running backs last year. It's an easier matchup for Henderson at home against the Raiders. And just TreVeyon Henderson is a big play waiting to happen. Like that's why we're less concerned about him sharing work than I think we are with a back like Pacheco, who kind of really needs that lead role to really be impactful. So I think Henderson gives us at least one big play in his NFL debut.
I'm the one who put together all these kind of head-to-head debates, and I did not do this intentionally, like lean very rookie heavy. I am now realizing that of the 8 names in our kind of 4 main debates we have here, 5 of them are rookies. I guess there is it kind of makes sense that it might naturally happen because we haven't seen these guys yet. So there is a little extra level of uncertainty and are we starting them right away? In general, Fitz, do you view this rookie class, and we'll get into some of these other specific names in these other debates, do you view this rookie class as one that is ready to start off hot right away in the first month of the season and be, very viable fantasy starters immediately? I know some rookie classes, it feels like it maybe takes a little while for those guys to get going. Do you feel like this is one where, for the most part, we can kind of dive right in?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think there are a small handful who we can reasonably trust early on because they're positioned for pretty heavy touch volume, whether it's, on the ground or in the passing game, receivers or running backs. But there are not a lot of those guys this year. And I think it might be a good running back class, but a lot of these guys do not have an immediate path to heavy touches.
What do you think, Jake, about the class early impact in general?
Same thing. It's really who? We know Henderson. We know we're going to talk about another, and Marion Hampton and everything like that. But it's the wide receivers. There's probably 2 or 3 definitively can count on. It's getting too excited about the rest. I was over on the chat on The Athletic, and somebody asked about how excited should I be for Ayumanor. And I was like, look, I was one of the biggest proponents of Ayumanor, but this is still we're talking weeks into the season potential here. Maybe he kicks Tyler Lockett aside quickly, but we did this last year too. Remember Dylan Labe? Everybody was super excited for Labe in the Raiders backfield. And I'm not saying that hey, you took a flyer on him and I did too. It's just remember, don't overrate rookies in general because we love to do it every single year.
Well, let's ask about another rookie here. RJ Harvey versus his backfield mate, J.K. Dobbins out in Denver. They are very close in our staff rankings. I'm looking here. Yeah, they're also very close, just 2 spots apart in the expert consensus rankings overall. So a very feasible decision that somebody might have to be making here, especially given where you might have drafted these guys. Fitz, I'll start with you on this one. RJ Harvey or J.K. Dobbins in week 1?
So I preferred Harvey over Dobbins in drafts. I think Harvey has the better season-long outlook. But in week one, I think Dobbins is the slightly better play. He's listed as the starter on the Broncos depth chart. And I know that's the veteran deference thing, which a lot of coaches do. But maybe Dobbins really does get a majority of the snaps at running back until Broncos head coach Sean Payton is confident that Harvey won't be a liability in pass protection. And we can be pretty sure that Dobbins is going to get the goal line work for the Broncos. They're probably going to have a run-friendly game script in week one. They're big home favorites over the Titans. I think Dobbins is the primary mail carrier for Denver this week.
Do you see it the same way, Jake? I mean, Dobbins had such a hot start last year. You could see that Denver maybe taking a similar approach where they say, we don't really trust this guy to stay healthy the whole season, so let's kind of run him as much as we can early on before he wears down? Or do you say, listen, like we're talking about this in half PPR, RJ Harvey is definitely going to be the better pass catcher of the two, just given Dobbins' history there, and you prefer him for that reason? Which way are you going?
I'm kind of in between, so to speak. I have Harvey one spot in front of Dobbins, and that's half point PPR, mostly because, I agree with Fitz, but I think it's more so if we saw in the preseason use, and according to people covering the team in practices, it seemed like that Dobbins was the third down back because of what Fitz brought up with the pass catching concern, which just makes me think like, okay, maybe it's a split and RJ Harvey is the quote unquote lead and he gets like a lot of first and second down. And that's where I lean slightly to. This is where I agreed with him, is that I think this could be a very run positive game script, and the fact that it's the Titans and we expect, and it's one of the biggest lines on the table for the fact that the Broncos are being favored. So that being like, hey, we know Dobbins has injury history. Why are we going to run him into the ground in week one? Maybe it goes the other way. Maybe this is, hey, we've got time to make Harvey a thing and we can use Dobbins and then save Harvey to last the entire season because it's his first NFL season. But my biggest point here is going to be they are down by 28 and 29. They are behind Tyrone Tracy, who I don't even love, but just Tyrone Tracy, Warren, names that like I know usage at least, and I could see this spinning either different direction. Like if it was a 70-30 split, J.K. Dobbins being the 70, it wouldn't shock me. And that's why if you can avoid it, I would at least try to avoid it for a week.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say this situation reminds me a little bit, and this is going to seem like I'm insulting J.K. Dobbins because I think he's better than the player he comps to in this comparison. It reminds me a little bit of the Bengals last year with Chase Brown and Zach Moss, where I think the assumption was like Chase Brown was maybe going to get his initial work on passing downs because he was like the quicker and more explosive guy. But no, Chase Brown was not entirely trustworthy in pass protection early. So he actually got his early work on early downs, and Zach Moss was like the main passing down guy. It could be a little like that this year too. It's just, will RJ Harvey be able to like overthrow Dobbins completely just because he has, I think he clearly has more juice, but Dobbins is better than Zach Moss was, though. That's the issue here.
Jake he already answered the question that I was going to follow up with, so I'll ask you, Fitz. Are these guys, you said they're ranked close together, but where in the rankings are they? Are they more in that kind of flex range, like an RB3 type range, or do you have them maybe up close towards the RB2s?
So I have Dobbins RB26 and Harvey RB28 in half PPR. Okay. So they're, kind of the flex zone.
All right. Let's get to some wide receiver questions here. We'll start with two of really my favorite players in drafts. We're talking about a lot of guys that I just really liked, which maybe this will be helpful to me setting my lineups because I have a lot of them across my leagues. I like to take advantage of doing these shows in that way. Tetairoa McMillan versus Courtland Sutton. And, McMillan, obviously, rookie who just like keeps going higher and higher in drafts, like throughout August and into September. There's just so much helium there. Courtland Sutton, maybe overlooked in terms of how we talked about him on the shows because there wasn't much to say, but somebody that I really like and I think has genuine upside compared to where he was going. McMillan is going to have such this amazing target share opportunity right off the bat, we expect, and Sutton, the Broncos are big favorites. I think they're going to have to throw to get there at some point in the process of those games. So I really like both these guys. Jake, I'll start with you on this one. Who do you have ranked higher in week one, McMillan or Sutton?
Why I feel like we're making this segment coin flip Ciely over here because I go back to back again. I have Sutton one spot in front of McMillan, but I'm going to go lean towards the veteran. I'm going to lean towards the quarterback I trust more, and that's coming from somebody who likes Bryce Young to continue what he did late last year. Although I will say Sheil Kapadia, I don't know how to say it. Sheil Thank you. How you say his last name. He actually pointed this out when he was talking about their offenses this year, and we all saw it. We saw Bryce Young play better. We saw the EPA numbers if you want to back it up with metrics, but the one part where Bryce Young didn't actually look better in the metric standpoint was success rate, which kind of takes away throwing a third down and 12 and you throw 15 yards to get a first down equals out to if you threw for 45 yards because it's still a successful play. And that kind of brings back offsetting the big plays versus you just got the first down anyway. All that being said is he was actually still towards the bottom of the league in success rate. So I'm saying that Bryce Young, as much as I believe in him, he played better to a degree, but he still wasn't of Bo Nix's caliber. And I'm not saying I love Bo Nix that much. I'm just saying I trust Bo Nix. I trust Courtland Sutton over a rookie in Bryce Young. And it's a very narrow margin. They're back to back, but that's why I'm going to go the tiebreak to Sutton.
Fitz, I was kind of finalizing. This is season long, not week one, but my kind of season long official rankings for the Fantasy Pros Accuracy Contest last night. And I was feeling very bold, and just if I want to be overly aggressive on one guy this year, it is Tetairoa McMillan. And I ended up actually pushing him all the way up to my wide receiver 12 for the season.
I was going to guess 12.
It's only tied for the highest ranking amongst anybody in the contest. But I wanted to be higher than Debra, which we'll talk about when we record our Friday show later this week. But I just feel so convicted about him. Week one, though, I do get why there could be a case against it. So I'm not saying that he's a must start in every circumstance, regardless in the first ever NFL game. So what do you think between McMillan and Sutton?
We're might need to beat you at the bar, Fitz. That's all I'm saying.
So the other person who has Tetairoa McMillan wide receiver 12 is not Derek Brown.
No, he's got him wide receiver 14. I tweeted last night Fantasy Pros does a cool thing where it creates a graphic for the experts to share very easily, and I shared my graphic of the receivers and I tagged Debra in it. I was like, balls in your court to catch out to me here. I believe he has him wide receiver 14.
Yeah, so I've got McMillan ranked ahead of Sutton. Wide receiver 16 for McMillan. Sutton wide receiver 22. No issues with Sutton. I feel like low-end wide receiver 2 is a perfectly respectable place for him to be. But if I were betting on which of these guys was going to get more targets this week, I'm absolutely betting McMillan over Sutton. The Panthers traded Adam Thielen. Jalen Coker is hurt. They're being forced to trot out Hunter Renfrow as their slot man. Their outside receiver opposite McMillan is Xavier Legette, who was just objectively bad as a rookie last year. 1.19 yards per route run, 5.9 yards per target. McMillan should be in line for heavy target volume right away against a Jacksonville defense that doesn't really have any cornerback matchups to fear. Well, at least not as long as Travis Hunter is primarily being used as a wideout and not a corner. So, yeah, I feel like McMillan has a really good chance at 10-plus targets this week.
Are there any surprising names that you're starting McMillan ahead of, like beyond Sutton, obviously, but anybody else that might surprise listeners?
I mean, right behind
Marvin Harrison.
Okay.
Yeah, same. Garrett Wilson. Well,
Same.
Wilson has a tough matchup. Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams. Yeah,
Not McLaurin or Adams. So you're just in general spots in front of me, but I do have him in front of, like you said, Garrett Wilson as well. In front of DJ Moore. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to two other rookie receivers here. Emeka Egbuka or Matthew Golden. Egbuka was going higher than Golden, but that gap, for as much as Egbuka was rising throughout August, Golden was also rising in real-time ADP. So at this point, as we sit here, one of these, Egbuka is ranked higher, but I'm curious if you guys see a case for Golden because he is, I think, the better chance to be his team's leading target getter in this first week as opposed to Egbuka, who will likely be behind Mike Evans. Fitz, I'll start with you on this one. Egbuka or Golden in week one?
Egbuka. He was the better prospect all along with the far better college resume. And now he's a chance to be a full-time guy right away with Chris Godwin out. And I like Egbuka's matchup against Atlanta. The Falcons secondary isn't very good, and it looks like their top slot cornerback is going to be fourth-round rookie Billy Bowman Jr., who was a safety at Oklahoma. So I like Egbuka in that head-to-head matchup if, Egbuka takes most of his snaps in the slot. And all the news about Golden coming out of training camp was positive. but the target distribution in Green Bay could be just wildly unpredictable from week to week, just as it was last year. I don't think Golden really profiles as a high volume target earner, and Detroit has one of the best defensive backfields in the league.
Jake, what do you think?
I hear everything, but I'm still going Golden, and I don't disagree. I had Egbuka clearly as the better prospect. I actually, at that time of the draft, not knowing what was going on with the situation, I thought Isaiah Bond was the better wide receiver than Matthew Golden. But I also considered the landing spots, and I'm not saying Fitz wrong is what he's saying. Egbuka is the number 2. I just look at the fact that I think Golden is clearly the one. Jayden Reed is dealing with the foot issue. How much is he out there? And I go back to the how much is he out there for this entire Packers crew. This is what frustrated us last year in fantasy, was that nobody on the Packers was getting more than 65, 70% of the routes. And we were just like, what the hell is... They're trotting out a bunch of 2s and 3s and just like, hey, who's going to do it this week? And I think that the answer is we still have a bunch of 2 or 3s. I still like Dobbs as a nice flyer because I don't know how long Jayden Reed is going to last, and I'm talking about for waivers. But Dobbs is the big play threat. I think Golden can do everything that the Packers need him to do. I don't think he's a super complete wide receiver. Let me make that clear. Like, I don't think he's of the ilk of Egbuka, but I do think he is the number 1. And I agree. The Detroit secondary is worrisome, but at the same time, I don't see this going out there and being a 13-10 ground and pound game on both sides of it. Maybe I'm wrong in that aspect, but I just look at the 1 versus the 2, and that's why I give him the slight edge. It's very close. This is another one. They almost are back to back in my rankings, but I go with the 1 slight edge over the 2 for his team.
I also feel like Fitz that, like, I expect both of these teams to be pass heavy in week 1, but if one of their opponents was to lay a complete egg and therefore allow the team to be more run heavy, I think it would be the Falcons allowing the Bucs to run more. I don't like the Lions. I think are going to score, and therefore I think the Packers are going to need to throw to keep up, even if the Lions maybe have the stronger secondary than the Falcons do, if that logic makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but like the Packers were something like 8% over expected run rate last year. So
Jordan Love also hurt.
I've been operating under the assumption that that's because of Love's injuries.
Probably. Yeah, Love was never truly healthy. So, but like normally LaFleur has been pretty close to even as far as run pass balance.
And I will say the one thing for Fitz's argument against yours, Worm, is that the the Jared Goff outdoors thing isn't really a thing anymore, especially as we just saw last year in December outdoors. And yes, one was San Francisco, but back-to-back weeks in San Francisco and Chicago, putting up big numbers. The one area he does still struggle in Green Bay, actually almost every single year he struggled in Green Bay. So if there is, I thought you were going to say this, if there was a game that I did say it wasn't going to be a 13-10 ground and pound, but if it was a slog and all of a sudden both offenses are struggling, I think that is in play more so for the Lions, which would pull back the passing game for the Packers. Anyway, you just create whatever narrative you want. This is how you create. No, I'm not joking by saying that.
No,
it's like for everybody out there that's struggling with these decisions, what is the narrative you believe that could happen, and that helps you make your decision?
It does, but it makes me think of like the numbers never lie with a big asterisk show they had on ESPN. Like you can frame it the way you want to. Before we move off this, when did those games usually happen though in Green Bay? I can't remember what time of year were they.
Mid-season.
Mid-season usually, so it's a little bit colder.
Yeah, I don't even think it was that bad though, because I was looking at golf the other day for that and referencing. It was 2 games, and I think it was outdoors. Here, I'll tell you right now. So outdoors in Green Bay, week 9 last year. Somewhat cold. I could go back and actually like look at the temperature, but week 4 the year before. It wasn't that bad. So
relatively early.
Yeah.
In fantasy sports, flexibility is everything, especially when you're managing injuries, bye weeks, or tough matchups. Your finances deserve the same level of control, and that's exactly what Klarna delivers. Klarna is your smarter, everyday spending partner. Inside the app, you can track purchases, compare prices, find deals, earn cash back, and choose to pay now or later with no interest when payments are made on time. It's the kind of tool that helps you stretch your money further and make every purchase count. This isn't about spending more, it's about spending wisely. Klarna fits seamlessly into how you already shop, whether you're picking up groceries, upgrading tech, or even just keeping an eye on your budget. Klarna gives you the financial flexibility to shop smart and stay in control, just like a good roster move. Download the Klarna app or head to Klarna.com to learn more. CA resident loans made or arranged pursuant to a California finance law license, NMLS number 1353190. Klarna balance account required. Klarna may get a commission. Limitations, terms, and conditions apply. All right, let's get to, we'll kind of go quicker through. We have like a larger chunk of, we call it rapid fire. It doesn't need to be like literally a rapid fire, but we'll kind of go quicker through these ones. We got a running back, a receiver, a quarterback, a tight end, and a handful of flex head-to-heads here. These are mostly more veterans. I do have one more kind of rookie head-to-head here, so we'll just do that now. The running back, Dylan Sampson, who we talked about a little in talking about the Browns, versus Jacory Croskey-Merritt, who was this darling of the preseason. Then the depth chart comes out, and he's RB4 on it for the Commanders. I don't know how much weight we're putting on that. So I wanted to ask Dylan Sampson or Bill Merritt. Fitz, will go with you first.
I'm not going to deny Bill. So I'll go with Croskey-Merritt. They're both going to be committee guys. I know Sampson's matchup against the Bengals is pretty attractive, but like Croskey-Merritt's matchup against the Giants might not be a bad one either. I mean, if you're going up against a defense that includes Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, like, wouldn't you want to run the ball to keep those guys from pinning their ears back and going hard after Jaden Daniels? So I could see the Commanders endeavoring to, get the run game going in this one.
What do you think, Fitz, the usage is going to look like in this backfield? Just like now that we have seen what the depth chart looks like, we've seen what the preseasons looked like, we've heard all the quotes coming out of camp. What do you actually expect this breakdown to be?
I'll say like 12 to 14 carries for Croskey-Merritt, 4 or 5 for Eckler plus a good number of targets, and maybe, 4 or 5 for Chris Rodriguez.
Jake, what do you think about Sampson versus Croskey-Merritt?
Yeah, this is a big disagreement between us. I am full on Sampson because I think he is Austin Eckler, as I mentioned before. But, and maybe this is trusting the wrong people, but I'm talking to people that cover the Commanders and say this is a real committee and a real problem coming out of the gate. And the fact that they're not just doing coach speak with Chris Rodriguez, they're acknowledging the fact the team is that they love Croskey-Merritt. They do, clearly love him, but love him also long-term, and the fact that they're acknowledging he's played one game since 2023. And this is going to be a committee because they want him healthy for the second half of the season. So don't be surprised. And I'm quoting, and I'm not going to say who it is in case he's wrong, but quoting and say, don't be surprised if Croskey-Merritt gets like 5 touches in week 1, just because they are going committee and thinking long-term with Croskey-Merritt. So that's the only reason I'm going this. If Judkins was out there for the Browns, I'd be 100% with Fitz, but it's just 2 versus 3, and that's where I'm going to go with Sampson.
I wonder too, Fitz, and we'll go quicker on the other ones here, but I wonder if it is a committee that not only is it a committee, but that Jacory Croskey-Merritt is getting the worst of the touches to be getting.
Yep.
Eckler catching passes, Rodriguez getting the goal line carries, and Bill just between the 20s back. And even if he does get some amount, some percentage of these touches, it's not the good percentage.
Yeah, the high value touch is going to the other
Exactly.
guys. That's a concern. And I know, Ben Gretsch, really sharp analyst, calls the guys who get the between the 20s touches trap backs, and trap is an acronym. I wish I knew what it stands for, but like it's an apt acronym because those guys can be trapped.
The Matt Forte backs.
Yes. And, I'm not bullish on Croskey-Merritt overall in drafts. I had him as like a running back 4. And like I've got a ton of Eckler in drafts, and I got some Chris Rodriguez really late. I don't know if I drafted Croskey-Merritt anywhere because he was just too
one share of them, and I have them both in the 30s this week. It's not like get
yeah,
Sampson
same
out
here.
there. Yeah,
same here. I've got Croskey-Merritt, I think, at RB 37 this week, so I don't think you should even start him. I just maybe like him a smidge more than Sampson.
All right, let's go to a receiver here. Odunze or Calvin Ridley. Jake, I'm curious what your thought is on this one. I know you've been high on Odunze throughout the summer.
I told you, what are you coin flipping me for? This is Odunze is one spot in front of Ridley. Like, this is like, I have so much Ridley this season, and I've been talking him up, but included the fact of, be warned, week 1 is a tough road. And I am one that I look at matchups, but don't overrate corners too much because teams can move wide receivers around, volume can offset it. But the concerning thing is when you have somebody like Surtain's level, and then also the defense around him, where sure, you can move him around, but you're still facing a tough defense no matter where you get moved. Minnesota also has a good defense, but I'll give Odunze the slight edge, very, very slight edge over Calvin Ridley in week 1, just because I believe a little bit more in that offense and a little bit more in that game. I love some Cam Ward. but I think it could be a kind of a 2 for 50 game for Ridley, where I think that Odunze just has a little bit better of a bet in week 1.
Let me go ahead and apologize for the course of the season. There's probably going to be a lot of these coin flips that I'm throwing your way. I try to find names that are close in ECR, close-ish, that you guys disagree on. And the point of that is so that, the audience can kind of hear both sides of the argument. If
I have stronger opinions on much of the rest of that, just like my movie rankings in my article this week. So much more stronger opinions coming up.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm looking forward to hearing those. Fitz, what do you think? Rome Odunze or Calvin Ridley in this really tough matchup?
Yeah, I mean, and this might be a dilemma people have if they drafted, Ridley and Rome as their second and third or third and fourth receivers. So it's close for me too. I've got both ranked as back end wide receiver 3s this week. I think I'm going Ridley. I know for a lot of people, Patrick Surtain Jr. is just a skull and crossbones matchup. They want to stay far away, just poison, not starting Ridley. But it's really hard to tell what the target distribution is going to look like for the Bears in any given week. So even though Odunze is the better matchup, Ridley is the clear number 1 guy for the Titans. And I think I'm going to roll with him over Odunze. I just feel like even with a tough matchup, Ridley is probably getting at least 7 or 8 targets this week.
Let's do some flexes. Aaron Jones versus Jaylen Waddle. Fitz, I'll start with you on this one.
Oh, man. I'll say Waddle. It's in the coin flip zone. Really close call. I'm just a big Jaylen Waddle guy. 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons to begin his NFL career. Former 6th overall pick. I don't want to just totally fade the guy because last year was a bad year, obviously related to the quarterback situation.
Jake?
This is one that I have Aaron Jones higher, not by much, but this is really the answer that people need. If it's a safe play you want, it's Aaron Jones. The Bears run defense is still a concern. I know they've made some changes, but still a concern going into this year. And that's hey, I know I'm going to get production. Jaylen Waddle, if you want the ceiling, that's the way I would go. But I don't know how many people are chasing a super high ceiling in week 1.
How about DK Metcalf or Travis Etienne, Jake?
Oh, DK Metcalf. I don't even want the guaranteed points with Etienne. How much does that lead even mean? I know that DK Metcalf, could he career high in targets this year? He's had 120 plus before, but 130, 140. Aaron Rodgers, lead wide receiver over the past 8 years, I think 6 times have been over 130 targets, or at least 120, somewhere in that range. I saw the stat the other day. I wish I would have pinned it. But yeah, DK Metcalf, the volume is coming, and you give me 10 targets, give me 8 targets. DK Metcalf is probably finishing as a top 20 wide receiver.
So we finally have one that is not a coin flip. You have very strong conviction on here.
Yes.
Fitz, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Etienne here. So I worry about Metcalf's chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. His lead receivers in the past were Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, these guys who Rodgers is a timing guy. He wants his receivers in specific places and he wants them there on time. And that's not really DK Metcalf's game. His game is just I'm covered, throw me the ball, I'm going to get it. And
so all the Roman Wilson?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think it's going to be really messy. I also don't know how much Aaron Rodgers wants to just sit back in the pocket anymore. I think he's kind of tired of getting hit. So I'm going to give the edge to Etienne. He's listed as a co-starter with Tank Bigsby. I think it's fine to have a half share of carries against a Panthers defense that gave up 2,500 rushing yards to running backs last year. That was almost 500 more rushing yards allowed than the next worst run defense. And I know getting Derek Brown back from injury, not our Derek Brown, by the way, that's going to help the Carolina run D a little bit, but this Panthers run D is still not going to be good. So I'll take Etienne here.
Well, then wouldn't that worry you for the next one? Go ahead.
I was going to say,
that was my
speaking of
follow-up
Tank
question.
Bigsby, yeah. The next one is Tank Bigsby versus Juwan Jennings, Fitz.
Yeah, same thing. I'm going Bigsby. And Jennings, he's been idle for a while, hasn't really practiced because of, this injury / contract impasse. And the Seahawks have some really good corners, man. Devon Witherspoon and Reek Woolen. Tough matchup.
Jake?
Yeah. This is another one. I'm just going to go with Jennings. I'm going on the upside of the wide receivers. This kind of is the Aaron Jones one. If I need points, cool. But I could see Bigsby actually being the better option than Etienne if this is a runaway game to start. If they're up 14-3, I could see more Bigsby, and that's why I kind of lean off Etienne. If it's all of a sudden they stay competitive and keep it going, I could see more Etienne than Bigsby. So for me, I think that, like, I hope I've never said this about an athletic coworker, but I hope Vic Tafur is wrong. Like, he came out yesterday and said that, I hate to ruin everybody's fantasy's excitement. I'm paraphrasing, but he said Ricky Pearsall might not be what people want him to be this year. He might not be the one. It's still Jennings. Jennings is out there. We're excited to see him. Pearsall is still working his way up. Will be the number 2, but he still has some improvements to make. I didn't love seeing that. I saw some of the improvements from Ricky Pearsall. I still ranked Pearsall slightly in front of Jennings for this week, but on that upside of Jennings, I'm just going to take Jennings. It's kind of comes down to, again, it depends on your team. I don't want 5 points, and I feel like Etienne and Bigsby without a touchdown are kind of 5-6 point guys, and I'm just going to go for the wide receivers.
One more flex here, Jake. Marvin Mims or Jordan Mason?
This is 100% what do you need? Do you need points? Mason. If you're going for ceiling, it's Mims. And I hate to put that on the people listening, but it's true. Like, if I just want the production, like, I will rank Mason higher. That's really what it is. Like, I am ranking Mason higher. That's the production. But if I needed to somehow be like, hey, you know what? I drafted early August. I already lost somebody. Brian Robinson got traded. I have an injury, and I just need a ceiling play. The ceiling play is Marvin Mims.
Fitz?
Oh, man. I've been president of the Marvin Mims fan club all off season, but I got to go with Mason here. Like, just
same reason, right?
Yeah, I mean, pretty good bet for at least 10 or 12 touches. Gives you the Monday night hammer, just in case you're down after Sunday. That's always nice to have in your pocket. This would be closer if not for the groin/thigh injury that Mims has been dealing with lately. Like, he's expected to play, but I'd rather just roll out Mason and not take any chances.
I've got a quarterback and a tight end decision here. We'll do the quarterback first. Trevor Lawrence or Kyler Murray? Fitz, what do you think about that one?
Lawrence. Pretty favorable matchups for both. I like Lawrence's matchup just a little bit more. The Panthers allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks last year. They gave up a league-high 35 touchdown passes last season, and the Panthers' opponent passer rating of 105.4 was worst in the league. So it's just, Kyler could have a good game against the Saints too. I don't think the Saints cornerbacks or pass rush are all that fearsome, but I could also see, the Cardinals really just wanting to run the heck out of the ball in that game.
These guys are back-to-back in ECR, by the way, QB9 and QB10. And given where they were going in drafts, I do think it's possible that there are teams out there who have Kyler as their starter and Lawrence as their backup and will have this decision to make. Jake, what do you think, Lawrence or Kyler?
It's Kyler, but by the slimmest of margins. I have the excitement everybody does. Like, the Jaguars are one of those popular breakout offenses, and we're finally going to get what we get from Trevor Lawrence. But I know that Kyler doesn't run like he used to, but he still runs, and I know what I'm getting from Kyler. Am I going to get Trevor Lawrence, or am I going to get the Trevor Lawrence we've seen for his entire NFL career so far? And that's terrible decisions and impatient throws, and just, I mean, I want to see it, and I have no problem if you want to start Trevor Lawrence, and this is a coin flip this again situation, but I'm going Kyler.
All right, the tight end one here. My and a lot of people's 2 favorite tight end breakouts, late round picks you could make this year, Tyler Warren and Tucker Kraft. I know I am in a couple leagues where I have both of them. I know Erickson is in leagues where he has both of them, our content team league. He took both of them. So if you took both of them and said, I'm going to take 2 shots here at getting a breakout tight end, but you got to pick one to start each week, Jake, who are you starting, Tyler Warren or Tucker Kraft?
I will say, if you saw what I sent you and you see the update, I originally was leaning Kraft, but the more I thought about it, I brought up the whole situation with Goff and how this game could go, and then I saw some reporting this morning that's the offensive coordinator and team and Colts in general. And look, this is a completely different answer than a month ago when Anthony Richardson was thought to possibly be the quarterback. But Daniel Jones lives in the intermediate field, like lives there. Tyler Warren being called Gronkowski is obviously hyperbole. Let's be clear about that. But when the team has that kind of aspirations for him, I'm going to give Warren the ceiling and the edge here, mostly because, again, Daniel Jones is the quarterback. I actually think it's concerning for Alec Pierce, a little bit concerning for Michael Pittman, but also concerning for Josh Downs, who I think fits either quarterback style, but Josh Downs is more of a threat to be hurt by Warren, which, again, Daniel Jones, I'm going to go with Warren.
Fitz, I feel like you're going to agree, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I agree. It's Tyler Warren.
Hey, we finally got agreement.
Yeah, and I'm high on Kraft too, but the Lions are just kind of a tough matchup for him. Detroit allowed the second fewest fantasy points to tight ends last year, and Kraft had 34 and 41 yards in his 2 games against the Lions last season.
Say goodbye to start-sit dilemmas with Fantasy Pros Start-Sit Assistant. Within seconds, you'll know exactly who to play for optimal results each week. Leveraging insights from numerous experts, the Start-Sit Assistant aligns your lineup decisions with the top minds in fantasy football, giving you a competitive edge. Maximize your lineup's potential with just a few clicks. Head to fantasypros.com/myplaybook or download the Fantasy Pros app and make winning decisions in no time. All right, guys, we'll wrap things up with our touchdown calls contest. Jake, who are you picking at running back?
Yeah, which probably makes me sound like I should come off Kyler Murray, but it's James Conner, just because I think they should be able to handle this game. I think they're an interesting survivor pick that people are making. I don't know if I would make them my 100% pick, but it's an interesting one that could be the worst team in the league and somebody that you target to potentially go 0-17. And if so, and they're in control, plenty of runs, and James Conner, while he's healthy, is an RB1, and he's a good bet to score every single week. I know the easiest one would have been Derrick Henry, but I want to be a little bit more interesting than that.
Fitz, who's your pick?
Well, my pick is definitely not in a survivor pool. The Cardinals on the road in week 1. No, but I am going to take a Cardinal for my touchdown call. I'm going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. I think there's a mandate for Cardinals offensive coordinator Drew Petzing to get Marvin Harrison Jr. going this season. Like, they spent the 4th overall pick on him last year. They need this dude to be a star. And, who else is going to catch touchdown passes for the Cardinals? Trey McBride? Come on. We know he doesn't score touchdowns.
I'm pretty invested in Trey McBride this year, so I'm hoping that you end up being wrong about this stance, Fitz.
I hope he's right about, like, we talked about it a few weeks ago, and I brought it up and Fitz agreed. Like, stop sending them on freaking go routes. I put this in the article. It's insane. The Cardinals, Marvin Harrison, 102 go routes last year, 16th most in the league. You know what his separation score was? Minus .069, which is 8th worst among all wide receivers with 50-plus routes. Like, stop sending them on verts every damn play.
Right. His average depth of target was like over 13 yards. And if you look at the average depth of target for the top guys like Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, like it's a lot shorter than that because those guys get some easy completions near the line of scrimmage too, in addition to the deep stuff. And like Marvin Harrison Jr., if you watched him at Ohio State, like he wasn't, a vertical receiver. That wasn't his game. No,
that's part of when you said about his route concerns coming out of college, part of it was that would be one of his route concerns that was coming out of college is that like we don't need to be doing this with him. Sorry to sidebar you there.
It's all right. I've got tight end. I am not making this a Cardinal sweep. I'm not taking Trey McBride. I am going with Mark Andrews, and the Ravens care about winning more than they care about individual accolades or anything. But I do think that this is a team that adores Mark Andrews. He is a veteran leader. He has been a consummate professional and a great player. He's probably going to be in the Ravens Ring of Honor one day. And they heard all offseason people talking about, like, got to trade him away. He cost them this playoff game, both with the fumble he had in the second half against the Bills and obviously the drop everybody remembers at the very end. I think the Ravens are going to go into this game and say, if the opportunity presents itself, we are going to get Andrews a touchdown to get him some redemption and feel like they're getting some small form of revenge. Lamar loves Andrews. He's going to be, even setting aside the fact that he just trusts Andrews more than anybody else when they're in the red zone. He has his entire career. I think they also want to see him catch a touchdown in this game. So this was an easy first call with them going back to the scene of the crime in Buffalo. I think the Ravens are going to try and get Andrews a touchdown here. And it's going to be a high-scoring game. There's going to be a lot of throwing back and forth. So I think they'll have an opportunity to do it. So we've got James Conner at running back, Marvin Harrison Jr. at wide receiver, and Mark Andrews at tight end. Let us know in the comments who you think blows it for us, which of those three you think doesn't score a touchdown, and who was wrong in their touchdown calls contest pick. You could dominate your fantasy football league with Fantasy Pros Premium, now available free for 6 months when you deposit and place your first wager on one of our partner sportsbooks. This is the easiest way to get full access to our top fantasy tools all season long. Go to fantasypros.com/premium to get started. Before we get out of here, I should ask you this at the top, but Jake, what do you have going on for in-season coverage at The Athletic?
Yeah, waivers, rankings, matchup rankings, which I know people are like, take them with a grain of salt, and I agree because they get more accurate as the season goes on, but I adjust a lot in the off-season for movement and changes, so like some of the worst aren't the worst, as you might expect. But yes, the top 25 movie rankings that I've watched so far in 2025, Superman was number 1. How to Train Your Dragon, I'm surprised nobody I thought people were going to come for me. I put that at 2, just because I love it so much in front of Weapons. Weapons was 3.
I didn't even see How to Train Your Dragon, the remake, because I loved the original animated so much. I was like, why do they need to make it? What was the remake good?
It's live. It's the remake. It's not even a remake it's just if you wanted the animated one to be live action, boom, you got it, and that's all I needed, and that's why I just love it. I will say, not having Craig Ferguson was the only one that kind of hurt. Just not having him as a gobbler or whatever the heck his name was.
Whatever the name is, yeah. I did love the animated one, so. Maybe I will have to check out the remake. We'll see. Fitz, did you see that one? I'm guessing not.
I did not. Weapons is definitely on my short list of movies.
I don't do horror movies. That's like I love movies. I love talking.
Did you watch Sinners? Because it's vampire, not like real horror.
You know what? I didn't. I wanted to see Sinners. I didn't. Did you? Fitz?
Watch that. That checked in at number 4.
Well, I was supposed to watch that with my daughter, who was a horror movie fan, but then she cheated on me and went with some friends and watched the movie. So I didn't get to see it. So
I can do thriller. Like I like Silence of the Lambs or like Get Out. That's like kind of horror, but like more closer towards the thriller side of things. But like true horror, I don't really do a good job with. So
well, see, then you might like Weapons. Weapons was kind of more thriller. Like it's not like super like jump ghost out of the closet type of thing.
Yeah, like Paranormal Activity. That's like not my bag. I don't like that type of movie. Okay.
Worm, before we go, I just have to ask, was it cathartic for you to talk about the Mark Andrews drop on the eve of a new Baltimore Ravens season?
He seemed to be holding on to that still.
I'm not sure how many times I've actually discussed it in the last 7 months or however many months it's been. It's been very difficult to bring up. So maybe a little bit cathartic. I also just love Mark Andrews. Like he's an awesome dude and has been a great representative for Baltimore for a while. So it's like you feel like he just takes so much heat for so long that you want to like honestly, if they weren't playing the Bills,
is he the one NFL player you would want to hang out with? Is Mark Andrews?
Oh my gosh, he'd be up there on the list for sure. I would need to think more about it before. You know who would be fun is Marlon Humphrey, just because that dude has wild takes on everything. It would definitely have to be a Raven.
I would want to hang out with David Montgomery because he's just like us. Well, me, and like in all the superhero, like all the anime and all that type of stuff.
Jamal Williams would be fun for that reason too.
Yes, I was gonna say also Xavier Leggett because I couldn't understand half the stuff he was saying. I'd just be laughing the whole time.
Yeah, Xavier Leggett, he'd be a good one. Fitz, what about you? Who would you hang out with?
Oh, Dare Agumba-Wale, because we went to the same high school and the same university.
Nice.
Really?
Yes, we did. Wow. So we did.
Well, let us know in the comments who you guys would hang out with if you could pick any NFL player. Spend a day with them. We'll go ahead and wrap up there. For Jake and Fitz, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again every Thursday all season long.